Look who's here, Larry Kudlow, National Economic Council Director. Larry, welcome back to the program on this auspicious day. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Stu.
We've got restaurants in Chicago closing down. We've got some curfews in Massachusetts. We're adding some restrictions on economic activity in various parts of the country. Do you think that affects the economy's performance in November and December?
Well, not at the moment. I mean, I don't agree with that point of view. Neither does the president. Neither do our health experts, by the way, from Vice President Pence's task force. You got to keep the economy open. Very important to keep the economy open. You have to do it safely with masking and distancing and good hygiene and testing and, be careful in close quarters. But still, another shutdown is not going to work. We did what we did last winter. We're in a different place today. We have vastly better equipment, much more knowledge and experience. We know how to do targeting. That's the key point. We know how to do targeting insofar as any community, community spread. Closing down the economy is a bad idea. Now, that doesn't mean, again, let me emphasize this. Safety first, yes. Closing down, that will make the cure worse than the problem. The president said that continuously in recent weeks. I totally agree. I think most Americans completely agree.
Okay. What is this market telling you about the election? We've got a strong rally yesterday and today. What's it telling you?
Well, I think first and foremost, the market knew I was coming on the Stu Varney show this morning.
We didn't tell it. Well, yeah, we did tell everybody, actually.
That was a joke. That was a joke. I'm trying to put some levity into it. It's a big day. It's hard to know. Does it have to do with the election? I honestly don't know. Look, I am an optimist, as you know. Well, I believe my boss, President Trump, is going to win.
Here's what I'm hearing from some so-called analysts on Wall Street. So a lot of them are saying Biden wins the White House, but the Republicans keep the Senate. That would be a split decision and would mean a lot of spending, a lot of stimulus, and that's why the market is up today. What do you say to that?
Gosh, there's a lot of yarns that can be spun over this. I have no idea, to be perfectly candid. By the way, just on that point, Stu, just on that point, Wall Street, of course, Wall Street is different than investors. Investors are all over the country, over 100 million. Wall Street, you got a few voices that say weird things. I just thought I'd put it, you're the perfect guy. Stimulus spending in emergencies, okay. But as an ongoing policy, those spending multipliers did not work, gave us the slowest recovery under Obama, Biden in their 8 years. Why not, just as a radical thought, why not let people keep their own money? Why not let people keep more of their own money? Why not let people working hard and small business people keep their own money? Why do we always think spending is such a great idea? Why not lower tax rates, for example, to create incentives? This sort of thing drives me crazy. It's like automatic. No, it's not. Spending is not the path to prosperity. Incentives and markets and lower taxes and regulation and strong energy, that's the path to prosperity, as we've already said. I get so tired of this. Whoopee, more stimulus spending. Take a look at, go back 10 years when they did that under President Obama and Vice President Biden. CBO, Federal Reserve, all these geniuses were predicting 4% growth or better. Guess what? It never happened. They got less than 2%. Spending is not an answer.
I remember first meeting you back in the early 1980s when you were working in the Reagan administration.
Yes, sir.
Now, back then, investing was a very different thing. I think it was the elites invested. Most ordinary people did not. But today, as you say, you've got 100 million people with a 401k, an IRA, a pension plan of some sort, most of it invested in stocks. We're all related to Wall Street these days, and stock prices make a big difference to ordinary people's lives.
Right.
It's a completely different ballgame. So we have an interest in keeping that market up there.
You're totally right, Stu, and you're also right. You don't remember, but on another network, on another show, I was your Washington correspondent when I left the Reagan administration. Boy, that's the deep, dark past. But look,
I
let
was
me
the
go
guy
back.
who woke you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what you were about to say. I remember that.
That is the truth. And Lou Dobbs gave me a box of cigars every now and then as payment. But you're quite right. Your point is really an important point, which my friends on the other side never seem to understand. Mr. Biden, by the way, has said a number of times that he wants to stop shareholder capitalism. It's a really bizarre thing to say. 100 million people plus with 401ks and IRAs, they completely benefit from a good stock market, which requires a good economy. Also, Stu, I always find it ironic that some of my friends in the labor movement at the leadership, the most liberal people who always hate pro-growth, they hate lower tax rates, they hate lower capital gains, they hate corporate tax cuts and so forth and so on. It is precisely their pensions that have benefited with the Trump stock market boom. More
Okay.
Teachers union and the government unions who hate anything to do with the stock market or prosperity or supply side economics, they benefit. In fact, the stock market is the only hope they have in the long run to get out of pension insolvency because of their bad management. So that's an interesting point. And I believe Trump will carry the investor class this evening by a solid wide margin. You wait and see.
All right, we shall. Larry, a pleasure, as always. We'll see you again soon, real soon.
Good luck. Thank you. Appreciate it.